everyone, Bethany Scott here and welcome to my channel. Today I am joining you with another Black Friday haul unboxing. Ranger Inc. reeled me in with not only an amazing Simon Hurley release, but a little freebie. So I've got to show you what I got. Some of the things I did want in from the last couple of releases from Simon Hurley, they did sell out. So this is what they didn't sell out of, and this is what I got. The 3D embossing folder called Streamline. It's meant to look like snow, for skiing or ice skating, whatever you want to go with. And I thought that would be really fun as a background. This is something I've had for a minute on my wish list, which is the sketched snowmen. And they are so cute and so fun and festive. And I really have a hard time passing up any really good snowflake stamp set. And then this I thought was so beautiful from Simon, which is erythral trees, and you can really decorate them. It's a stamp and a stencil set. This is a little bit different, but you can really just go a lot of different directions, make it year round. You could do fall, you could do spring, Christmas, whatever. And I really just like the concept. There's samples on the back for you to see, but you have the dots or you have the leaves, and you can go any direction with these, really. And they are so beautiful. Then, of course, these are so cute, which is the Skating By stamp set, which I feel like will work really well with that embossing folder. The Skating By to say hi, sending Christmas cheer. I come bearing gifts, bear, haha, because there's a skating bear. Very cute. And then another thing I've had on my list for a minute is the confetti peel apart background stamp. It's really cute for a full background, or if you just want to do a border, you can release one of the portions of the stamp, the red rubber stamp, and just have a lot of fun with it. And then, dun dun dun, finally I got Unicorn Horn. They were out of stock, and the Astro Paste came back in stock just in time for Black Friday purchases from me. Yahoo! All right, and then the bonus gift, because Ranger decided to put bonus gifts in people's bags. I got the Snowflakes Glitter and Mica Flakes, which I feel like that's a shaker card in the making, or, just a simple glue it and slap it on like flocking and call it a day. Really cute. I am definitely looking forward to testing that out. So let me grab a couple of things, and I think we're going to make something today out of this haul. So I will be right back. All right, I have grabbed a few essentials. I am going to step out of the crafty box and challenge myself to a 5x7 card instead of an A2 size card. So I am going to start off with the embossing folder. I think it is so stinking cute. Simon Hurley really just knocked it out of the park with his last few releases, and of course I've wanted it all, but I have been holding back purposefully, deciding what is more important and being strategic about it, shopping the sales when they come about. So I appreciate all of the sales from Spellbinders, from Ranger, and from scrapbook.com, because through all three of them I've saved a fair piece so I can afford to buy more Simon Hurley. So I'm just telling on myself, but I'm going to throw that through my Big Shot, if it takes it. Oh no. Apparently it's too thick. I will take out my magnetic mat and try that again. Alright, so if you have seen me lately, you'll know that A2 size cards are my go-to. But if you look at some of my original videos, a lot of them were A7s. So I'm kind of going back to my roots today, and also because I have to send photos in the mail, and they send better in A7 size cards than they do in A2 size cards. So next I'm going to be wild, crazy, and brave. And I am going to actually stamp directly on this embossing folder. My plan may not work out. My plan may work out. I'm not sure. But I feel like I just have to try it. If I hate it, I will start again. But I have a feeling I will not hate it. And in fact, I know I will love it because in my brain, this is how this works. So I am going to place the larger tree up front and then the smaller tree back on this slope. And there's a reason, and I'll explain it when I add the last element. But I'm going to pull out the stencils right away. The baubles? Yes, that's baubles. When they're balls instead of, I don't know, just my brain is still on wake up mode. I had a few days worth of migraine activity, and so forgive me if my brain is still catching up with the rest of the world. All right, so we have the Stellar Ink Weeping Willow. Oi, I will be winking at myself apparently. With the craziness that is coming out of my brain / mouth. Anyways, so tapping a nice layer. I hope you all caught the last few times my children decided, hey, I'm gonna craft with mom. Yeah, I'm really enjoying having them around in my craftiness. Okay, so this I may actually have to hand add, meaning like draw some in because the lines are eliminating too much of the ink. So we'll see. Again, like I said, I may hate this. I may love it. I don't know. This is being different and stepping outside the box. I'm going to use a stamp helper. Really get some really good pressure. Hopefully that'll help a little bit. Yeah, I'm still going to have to hand draw some of the ink in, which, thank goodness, I have colored pencils still out here from a few videos ago. I hope you all enjoyed Danny joining me in coloring for her friend. Her friend was so excited about seeing her, and her mom was like, well, we have something better to watch on YouTube now. So this should work. And I don't need an exact coloring, I just need to connect the lines so it's not so drastically like, what's going on here? And it's okay if it looks more like a sketch artistry kind of thing. I will embrace that mixed media-ish look. And I'm keeping it on my Misty here just because I'm going to come back and stamp one last time in hopes that the ink will bleed a little bit more. So our children are really just embracing the entrepreneurial spirit, and eventually I'll maybe have them come on here and sell some last minute gifts that we can ship out, or if you want to pre-plan for Valentine's, graduations, birthdays, etc., etc. My children just find so much joy in selling and making for other people, and I love it. Especially Frankie. He has been making stuff while his sisters are at school because he wants something to do and he wants to feel important too. And so, yeah. All right. So now I'm actually just gonna, no, I will remove this and put it on my stencil mat. Setting this aside. Using my handy dandy Simon Says Stamp stencil mat and placing it right into the guides here. We're gonna do something mixed media again. And I take it back, I didn't even stamp it a second time. My brain went on to the next thing. Apologies. Yeah. So I'm gonna use some mint tape since it's not fully on here. And first I'm going to layer in some Love Balm, and you can see that my children have gotten into my Love Balm because they scratched up my foam pad. I don't know why. They decided to break into my office yesterday, and here we are with a scratched up foam pad. So I will still make it work, but a little bit sad that happened. And they used up a lot of ink, so I may just have to dive in and get a new ink pad to replace that. So I'm going to lift this up, trying not to move it too much, but it looks so gorgeous. And I actually could just leave it like that, but I want to be fancy and also use the Astro paste. So we have that. Now while it's still there, I'm going to be crazy and take my lovely microfiber towel, rub off my stencil, and add some Astro paste. The unicorn horn should just add a nice little layer, and I'm not too concerned about being even. I'm just adding a little bit of mixed media right on top. And you'll see how some of my Astro paste is turning pink. That's because I didn't let my ink dry. So don't be like me and let your ink dry. It's all going right back to the same place, but still. I could get some smudgies from that. Okay, so as that dries, I will do the second tree. Hopefully I do this fast enough that my Astro paste won't dry on my spatula and I can just reuse that. I'll cap that though, just in case. And using Love Balm once again. I'm not going to change that part. It's a beautiful color and will work well with the whole scheme of things. Mixed media and all. And the nice thing about the placement of this is there's no real exact, you either get it or you don't, and it is what it is. Also, I used Weeping Willow instead of black on purpose, just so that if any of the red from the Love Balm crosses over, it still shows some red through it. So checking my placement of my ink. Yeah. There's a little light here. Otherwise, everything looks grand. All right. Yep. Okay. So then, yeah, I made it. I'm going to blow on it. Try to dry my ink. No, it's okay. I will just go for it. Trying not to be cringe here, but, and yes, I know that sounded very Gen X. No, not Gen X. That's, I don't know, Gen Z, Gen Y. I've lost track. I feel like I'm a zennial, so I'm kind of in the middle of millennial slash Gen Zers slash, I don't know. Try not to overthink it too much. And I think I'm not gonna go for a super even layer again. Let me lift it, check my math. Looks beautiful. Okay, so as it dries, it is actually looking a little bit like frosted cranberries, which are so pretty. I have a thing for like frosted cranberry things. I don't know. I blame who did the marketing for that? That was Bath and Body Works actually had frosted cranberry, and like, I don't know why. It just appeals to me. So I'm going to go clean off my stuff and let this sit and dry for a minute before I start my next step. I'll be right back. All right, I've given it a very long while to dry. I made myself a tea and watched a little video. Supported a few other channels while waiting for this to dry, and I just have to show you a real quick close-up how stunning that looks. It is really, really gorgeous. I love the look, and it isn't a lot of mixed media. It's actually more clean and simple looking, just because the stamp and the stencil, they just pair very well. But I am going to make it a little fun by adding the snowman here from the Skating By stamp sets, just to add some whimsy to the already beautiful look. And we're going to add him right down here at the bottom. I do plan to add the sentiment down below him, so I don't want him to be too far into the scene. And I'm gonna find my stamp, my ink pad, and be right back. It has been found. Okay, I'm going to use the Black Widow, which for whatever reason I seem to need to re-ink soon, which I feel like I haven't used it enough, but maybe I just use it for more than I think I do. And because we learned that lesson previously, I'm going to use that extra oomph of having a stamping tool. And guess what? It's stunning. And I don't think I'm actually going to add anything more. Yeah, that'll work, because I'm coloring this one in with colored pencils, so he's going to stay a little bit more on the whimsical side. And I'm going to get my ink out of the way, though, so I don't accidentally make a boo-boo. And the colors I want to use are, we're going to give this snowman a little bit of blue shadowing on the sides, so I'm using a very light blue color and just coming in on the sides. Not a whole lot, but just light pressure. Same with the base here, light pressure. He doesn't get to be a full blue snowman, he just gets to have a shadow of blue. All right, and then I want his scarf to be a lovely complementary red. So we're going to do, you know what? I can actually use that. We're cheating a little. I'm going to start with the cap. And more pressure on the outside, less pressure on the inside. And lightening as I go. Shading back and forth. Same thing with the scarf. I'll try to leave the polka dots white. Try being the operative word. They may turn into green. We'll see. So just stepping outside the box a little bit, also using the tools that I invested in long ago. I would alcohol ink this, but I don't know how the alcohol ink will respond to having ridges. I feel like it might have more of an opportunity to bleed into the parts I don't want the ink in, versus the pencil. There's a little more control over where the pressure's going. And so going over ridges with the pencil is a little easier, it seems, at least in my brain. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone who's just gone ahead and done alcohol inking over ridges. Feel like this was the best use of the products I do have, though. All right, and that is so stinking cute. And then I am going to keep it really simple and just have an orange nose. Pressure on the left side, lighter on the right side, and it's done. And then I'm going to darken my black by adding a navy blue to the kohl for the eyes and the, if I can get my pencil out, just because not having full pressure kind of lightened those dots. And so it's also giving like a shadowing effect, so you can see close up what it looks like. And it's simple, but it works. It's not overthought and it's not overdone. Although I do want to add a little extra shading here on the edge of my snowman. Why? Because there is, from the embossing folder, there's a dot. And I feel like it looks like a oopsie. So I'm trying to undo the oopsie look by making the dimension or the depth of that blue shade a little deeper and darker. So now you'll see that that embossing folder line dot doesn't seem so drastic right there anymore. Okay, so now we are going to grab, actually I'll hand stamp the sentiment, which I believe should be warm wishes. Yeah, let's do, originally I was going to do let it snow, but we're going to do warm wishes, and I will hand stamp it. Why? Because I trust myself. Maybe ill-advised, but I trust myself. And I will actually use the Creative Kindness stamp set, or stamp acrylic block. I knew what I meant. Did I mention that my brain is not fully wired yet? And I am using Ivy League just for a pop of a different color. Since everything else is red and white with a pop of blue, we'll just add a pop of green. And right here towards the bottom, keeping it nice and simple and beautiful. Nothing terribly complicated, but simple in beauty. All right, next we are going to add the pièce de la résistance. First, I'm going to actually glue my card base down before I add the extras, just because I want to have some time for that to dry first, so there's no warping when I add more things on top. I need to stabilize my already glued, or not glued on, embossing folder and the astro pasted and stenciled and inked card front. feel like this will stabilize it for the next step. And I will use 2 acrylic blocks. Not that. And this, because the next step, I will need to clean up the space. So I will be right back. And actually, before I want to add all of the extras in the mid to the card front, I'm going to go ahead and stamp out the inside sentiment, because I realized I didn't want to forget about it and then accidentally over design right on top of it, and then making it difficult to potentially stamp this in. So I have chosen from Altenew the inside holiday wishes. It says, "From home to home and heart to heart, from one place to another, the warmth and joy of Christmas brings us closer to each other," by Emily Matthews. And I felt like the person that's receiving this card, that is an appropriate statement for. She lives far away, but she cares for me and my family so deeply and is so wonderful. And I just want to spoil her every day. Maybe she'll even watch this video. I don't know. But Miss Wilson, thank you for everything you do for our family. You are greatly appreciated. So, oh, I think I don't have enough ink on one of those. So, keeping it as centered as possible. Just committing to the spacing. And beautiful. Perfect. All right, now I will let this finish drying and be right back. All right, for the last step, it's crazy out there idea, but I am embracing it and going with it. I'm adding a little bit of my Barely Art glue, and I mean a little bit. So what happens is in the embossing folder, you'll see that there's little dots, raised dots. And what I'm doing is I'm accenting them and adding the freebie that came in my Ranger package of the snowflakes with the glitter and mica flakes. And I am just taking a tweezers and hand placing them right over the glue. They kind of look like ice crystals. And so there's a little glitter that's coming out too. I will tap off the excess when it's done drying. I won't tap it off before then. And I'm not going to put it everywhere there's raised dots, but I'm just putting it on like the accents of the ski lines, as if it's like creating this little ice shelf right next to the ski slope or whatever you want to call it. But it's very subtle, and because I'm using glue instead of a texture paste or a medium, it'll dry a lot faster, which also means I have to be working quickly and laying with the tweezers and adjusting quickly. But yeah, it's like the glitter is kind of flopping out, but it's mostly just this really pretty icicle looking texture, and it's so gorgeous. Oh, I love the look. I really, really do. This is a little different for me. Usually I don't do so much meticulous work. I hardly ever take out my tweezers. It's unique for me to use my tweezers in the first place. Even if I'm die cutting, I kind of forget that I have them there. Even though they're right next to me, within good amounts of reach, I still forget they're there. But anyways, so a little catch up on the family. We have, you know, this time of year is always busier than usual, but we have been doing excellent. Like, my kids are owning the entrepreneurial spirit. We have one last craft fair in the snow this weekend. Yes, we are doing an outdoors one, so pray for us. Thank you. It is going to be interesting for sure. But yes, Wisconsin has gotten more snow than we've gotten Actually, in the last like 3 weeks, we've got, or 2 weeks. Yeah, it's only been 2 weeks of snow. Goodness. We've gotten, in the last 2 weeks, we've gotten more snow than we have probably the last 3 years combined. And I don't say that as an exaggeration. I say that as, I'm pretty sure that's an accurate statement. Oh, that's being static. That's clinging to static, not to actual glue. And I've lost some of the flakes to my glass mat. If I get them up, I get them up. If I don't, I don't. Yes, the accent came out. Sorry, not sorry. My Midwest accent does appear. Sometimes very thick. Usually accidental. But hopefully you understand me. I say things like bag and what's another Midwest word? Pillow. Although I've heard that that's not necessarily Midwest. That's like just who you were around when you were kids. So, meh. But yes, I say bag. And it's a bubbler, everybody, not a water fountain. We come from the people, or we come from the region where water fountains were created. So, yes, we are allowed to call it its original name, which is bubbler. All right. Anyways, I feel like, whew, that was simple enough, but just so pretty. Adds a little bit of elegance and just some shimmer and shine that you wouldn't have gotten any other way. I can picture using this for if you had like a hill die or something like that and just making a hill of snow with this. This is so pretty. I'm going to probably need to buy some more because I feel like there's a lot of projects in my future, especially if my children get a hold of that. They will most likely use it all before I do. So, anyways, I hope you like this project. I know it's a little bit more tedious and it uses a lot more design techniques, but honestly, this is like one of my favorite makes that I don't know why I don't do more A7 size cards, but we'll see. Maybe I'll step outside my crafty space and my crafty box and make more A7 size cards in the future. We'll see. I make no promises, but as always, I appreciate you joining in with me today. I have links down below, affiliate links. If you are shopping for yourself or your crafty friends, feel free to use my links. I genuinely appreciate it, as do my children who you are supporting by supporting me. Anyways, thank you all for your time today. Thank you for spending some of your holiday season being uplifted by my makes because, gosh, you could be watching everyone else too. So, but you stopped here. So I appreciate you all. Thank you all. And don't forget to find the joy in your day and happy making.